Welcome to Electric Enthusiasm, the podcast, the podcast, the podcast, the porkcast, where we celebrate unironic bacon. I'm Katie Cobalt, and I can speak English, I promise. Sometimes, occasionally, I try.
Oh, that was amazing. I'm Alexander Kjolf, and bacon is my favorite thing in the world, so I'm glad we're now doing a porkcast and not a podcast.
So, Alex, can you tell us how in the ham does this porkcast work?
Yeah, I can. In the meantime, I will be trying to think of more pork-related puns, yeah. In each episode, one of us presents a topic that they love, but that the other one of us knows little or nothing about, and then tries their damn hardest to spread their enthusiasm to the other host and to you, the listener. Sometimes we have guests on who are super excited about something we know nearly nothing about.
And then we have the moment of meta, where we become very silly sausages and nerd out about enthusiasm itself and talk about why it matters and how you can live a more chorizo life.
Oh my god, you went whole hog on that one, didn't
you? Yes, I did.
Yeah, you did. Because we think the world needs more enthusiasm, and you should share your enthusiasm with us on our website, electricenthusiasm.com, or our Instagram, @electricenthusiasm. Tell us what you're excited about these days. You can even plain old send us an email at hello@electricenthusiasm.com.
Yeah.
Yeah. Given today's topic is kind of Jewish.
Yeah, that's
I think
true.
it's interesting that we went with a pork.
Kind of Jewish?
Aggressively Jewish?
I mean, Mel Brooks would be offended if you said that.
I don't think much of anything offends him. Do you?
I think calling him not that Jewish would be quite offensive.
I can definitely see that. Yeah, strongly Jewish.
Yes.
Strongly Jewish. Yes.
Also very amusing. As someone who abstains from eating meat about 80% of the time, hilarious that we talked about pork so much.
Yeah.
So today we're not talking about meat. In fact, we're talking about the Mel Brooks film Spaceballs.
Yes.
I feel like if somebody were to say hey, we have a young woman in her 30s and a Gen Xer grew up in the 80s, who is a likely person to present a topic like Spaceballs? I don't think they'd pick me.
No, probably not. Probably not. That is probably more my time period, my epochal area. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
And yet, here we are.
Here we are.
We spend too much time together.
Yeah, we do.
I think this is just evidence that, with my episode on Weird Al, I just spoof comedy from the 80s. I think that's what that is. That is a genre I deeply enjoy.
It is awesome. Yeah, it is.
So what do you know about Spaceballs, considering the fact that you're probably the person who actually was a teenager when it came out?
Yeah, so I've seen it, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a long time since I've seen it.
Mm-hmm.
I liked it. It's funny. It's very Mel Brooks.
It is.
But everything Mel Brooks does is very Mel Brooks. He has a recognizable style that is all his, right?
Yes.
I know nothing about it. Yes. So yeah, blank slate.
Excellent. That is what we love to hear on the podcast here. Like you, I actually saw it growing up. Both my parents are super nerds. I grew up watching Star Wars and Star Trek, and so I had all of that sci-fi understanding.
Mm-hmm.
And so then as a preteen, I think, we watched Spaceballs and I fell in love. I loved it. Spaceballs, surprisingly, is a huge hit with kids. It's a very kid-friendly show despite the incredible amount of sexual innuendo.
Yes.
And so as a kid, I loved this film. And I watched it every now and then growing up. And one of the joys of this podcast, as we've discussed before, is that your enthusiasm for something grows when you look into it.
Yes.
And there is so much cool stuff behind the scenes in this film.
How old would you have been the first time you saw it?
So, quite like many things in this world, I have no memory of when I first watched Spaceballs or when I first heard of its existence. For me, Spaceballs has just always been part of my universe, and there has never been a time before Spaceballs.
Okay. Okay.
It's like Star Wars. I don't remember the first time I saw Star Wars, but Star Wars has always been part of my universe.
Mm-hmm. Here on the podcast, we like to start with the facts first, Katie. So, what exactly should a person know about Spaceballs?
So, Spaceballs is from 1987. It's an American space opera parody film co-written, produced, and directed by, and also copious cameos by, Mel Brooks. The film stars unknown actor at the time, Bill Pullman. Despite the fact that they wanted to have somebody like Tom Cruise in the role, they couldn't get anyone like superstars interested, so they picked an absolute nobody, Bill Pullman. But then they also had super mega stars of the 80s, oh, yes, of the 80s, John Candy and Rick Moranis starring in the roles, and includes the voice of legendary Joan Rivers.
Ooh.
When it comes to making a parody of one of the greatest films of cinema history, the only way to do it is to make sure you have a jam-packed, talented cast and crew, which is what Mel Brooks got. The cast and crew themselves share more than 20 Academy Awards and nominations.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
For like a dumb spoof movie.
For a dumb spoof movie. Isn't that insane?
Wow.
It is considered to be a massive cult classic. And in case you're wondering, I was wondering this as well. Did they get George Lucas's blessing?
Yeah.
They did.
Did they? They did.
They
really?
actually, Mel Brooks sent George Lucas a script before going into production.
Wow.
So they had his blessing.
Wow. I would not have thought. He strikes me as the guy who takes himself a little too seriously, maybe.
I know, right? But he'd seen Blazing Saddles, another Mel Brooks production, and loved it. And so he thought it would be okay. There was a caveat, but we'll get into that later.
Okay. Cool. Reminds me a little bit of Weird Al, right?
Very much so.
And his spoof songs, and now there's a spoof movie, but he also does get permission from the original artist. And kind of say,
I like the respect of that. Like, yes. you give respect to the originator. And also, there's a documentary, a making of Spaceballs. In that film, they often talk about this idea that you can't parody something if you don't love it.
Sure.
And I think this is true for Weird Al. This is true for Mel Brooks. Like, you have to love sci-fi. You have to love sci-fi tropes, Star Wars. You have to love that and know it really well in order to spoof it. Yeah. Like, you can't make a parody of something you don't care about.
No, well, you could, but it'd probably be very mean or just very uninteresting.
Yeah, and it wouldn't work.
Awesome. So why are we talking about Spaceballs today?
Because I love it, obviously, but also because you talked about aliens, and like a lot of the reasons why I know anything about aliens is because of Spaceballs.
That's hilarious. Yep. Yeah, just shows the impact of the alien movies.
Yeah, well. Like the fact that it was spoofed means it's a very it's something that it's in the cultural zeitgeist. Yeah, like you can't pull a spoof off if it's not popular.
Nope.
You shared a lot of Roger Ebert's reviews and quotes, and so I thought I'd share one. So this is Roger Ebert's review of Spaceballs for the Chicago Sun-Times, and as you can see, he really, really loved this film.
2.5 stars out of 4, saying, I enjoyed a lot of the movie, but I kept thinking I was at a revival. It should have been made several years ago before our appetite for Star Wars satires had been completely exhausted. Yeah, he was a huge fan, I can tell.
He really loved it.
Loved it so much, yeah.
Yeah. So like when Star Wars came out, it was such a huge cultural phenomenon that there was loads of parodies and there was loads of things coming out at the time. But I would argue, based off the fact that it is now a cult classic and the fact that it's still referred to today, Spaceballs is the one. It's the one that stood the test of time.
Has there been a Star Wars parody since then?
Possibly, but I don't know about it. Do you?
I don't think so. The whole industry was like, nope, can't be done any better. No reason to try. We're going to stick with this one, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I have 4 reasons why I think Spaceballs is incredible, and I would like to share those 4 reasons with you.
We have a list.
We love a list. We love a list.
We're enthusiastic about lists.
Okay, so number 1, the reason why I think this film is incredible is the visuals and the effects.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I don't think, because it's a parody film, I think we often don't give it the credit that it deserves. But visually, this film is cohesive. In terms of the effects, It is the same quality of effect as Star Wars.
Mhm.
And I mean this literally, because do you know who they hired to do the visual effects for this film?
Nope.
Industrial Light and Magic, George Lucas's own visual effects company. They did the effects.
That is hilarious.
In fact, they did about $5 million worth of effect shots, and the film itself has 267 VFX shots. Like,
Oh, that's awesome.
it's insane. And we love a miniature. We love a miniature on this
Yeah, we
show.
do.
And
Yeah, we do.
I'm just going to put some images in the chat for you. But you can see there is some really hilarious content in this world of the visual effects stuff because it was all miniatures,
Mhm.
which meant
Wow.
that I just really like the one of the guy with the Winnebago in the sand.
Yeah.
So you can see, like, this stuff is really cool. I don't know. I think this stuff is super cool.
That is super cool. Also, just the whole idea of a Winnebago in space. I mean,
Yes,
that is
it's just
incredibly
classic.
dumb and incredibly fun. Yeah.
Another thing that I love is that the space pod ejection sequence. It's a visual effects shot where you see the space pods ejecting from inside the spaceship going out into space.
Mhm.
That shot was made by ILM originally for A New Hope,
No way.
but they didn't use it in A New Hope. And so they were like, well, we've made this shot. Like, let's just give it to Spaceballs.
Wow.
And so when I say the quality of the effects were literally Star Wars level, I mean literally Star Wars level.
Wow. That is hilarious. I love that.
They also had one of the biggest and probably the most intense blue screens of the period in the giant Spaceball ship when they're looking out into the vista. They have a 35-foot high and 135-foot wide blue screen, and it was one of the
Yeah.
largest blue screens ever attempted at the time. And it was
Holy
for
shit.
Spaceballs.
Oh, I love that. I love it when you take parody seriously and you're like, yes, we're spoofing something, but we're going to do it right. We're going to get good actors. We're going to get good visuals. We're going to put some effort into this, not some like low effort shit posting movie.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's amazing.
We're going to get into more what I call the fuckery later, but a small example of the fuckery is that the VFX team pranked the entire cast and crew by saying that the blue screen was so dangerous for your eyesight. In order to look at it, you have to wear special yellow glasses. And so there's loads of photos of behind the scenes. Particularly, there's a photo of Mel Brooks standing in front of the blue screen wearing these yellow tinted glasses, which were completely unnecessary. You did not need them.
Best practical joke ever.
It's just like these little things.
Yeah.
Another aspect that I think is really beautiful is the costuming. I think the costumes are absolutely gorgeous in this film, and they're so interesting and weird, and like the structural aspects of them, like you think about the Spaceballs helmets, like they're really interesting silhouettes. Like from a fashion perspective, like one, it's stupid, it's hilarious. They're little cup shoulder pieces, but like from a visual perspective, it's really beautiful. So Don Feld, all one word, the icon that he is, did all the costuming, and I found his original sketches.
Yeah.
And they are beautiful. They look like illustrations from a comic book or something. They're so cool.
Holy crap.
So I like how Dot's hair changed so much. But you can't tell me that's not gorgeous.
That is amazing. I mean, first of all, that's great art. He's just a great artist.
True.
And those concepts could have been part of a serious sci-fi movie.
And that's the thing, like people were playing it so straight. Daphne, who played Princess Vespa, when she originally auditioned, she was really concerned that she wouldn't be able to play the character because she wasn't sure if she was that kind of broad comedy actress, if she was that slapstick. But Mel Brooks is like, no, play her straight. Play her earnestly, play her genuinely. Yeah. That is where the comedy of this is going to come from. And that's the thing. Everyone had that mindset. Every cast and crew member, all of it was like, we're going to play it straight. We're going to play it like this is real. And that's what's going to be the funniest option.
Right. I can see that. Yeah.
The visuals of this film are absolutely incredible. It was considered an effect film for its time. Films that were really heavy on visual effects are called effect films. And this is one of the most expensive effect films of the era. because of the incredibly high quality visual effects that do stand up the test of time because it's miniatures and we love miniatures. And like the visual cohesiveness of all the costuming, all of the structured garments. To create all of that is insane. If we think about Barf, John Candy's character, he had like a battery pack built into the back of his costume to make the animatronics of his ears work. So he had in his glove a small controller to be able to move the tail. His ears were radio controlled by 2 technicians off camera. Like, this is high tech shit.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. Wow.
And it's difficult to do, and they pulled it off incredibly well. One of my favorite bonus stories about Dark Helmet's helmet, one of the exciting things about this helmet is not only is it visually really impressive that they've created this giant helmet, but also it was functional. Like, Rick Moranis is not a huge dude. This is a massive fucking helmet, and he was able to walk around the space, behave in the space, and also be a dick to his fellow co-stars, as examples in this clip.
Everybody got that?
Rick would try and break me up just before we would do a take, but he'd drop the visor.
Never have that damn thing down in front of me!
So he could laugh his little took us off, and no one knew. And I'm ruining the take because I'm laughing, and all I see are his little knees shaking a little bit. That's all because his helmet was down. I wanted that helmet. I wanted that.
Holy shit, that's amazing.
You gotta have the helmet, man. You gotta have the helmet.
Also, the visor slamming down. That's just hilarious.
It's so good. Okay, so that's my first reason. Visually awesome, really awesome effects. So cool.
Yeah. And it's been a long time since I've seen it, but some of the visuals are stuck in my mind. Like the opening scene of the huge ship just passing by like for 3 minutes or something.
Yeah.
The Winnebago in space, the Hoover sucking out the air from the planet. All of that is just, some of those visuals are so effective. They actually stick in my mind.
Yep.
Even many years after I last watched. I've got to watch it.
I also totally forgot to say, Pizza the Hut. That's actual pizza.
No way.
Yeah, it was a huge issue. So what happened was they had a visual effects guy inside the Pizza the Hut puppeting it, and they had the cheese pizza on it. And so they had it wired up to conduct heat to make sure the cheese melted and bubbled and stuff. Like, that's real. That's actually happening. It's practical effects, Alex. I don't think you're appreciating how insane this is.
No, there's actual cheese
and it
melting
was, like,
on
heated.
The actual costume.
It was heated. And so after a couple of takes, it starts smoking. And the effects guy inside the costume was like, nope, I'm out. I'm done. I don't want to be inside this thing anymore. And he refuses to go back into the costume. So they had to like bully another part of the effects team to go inside the costume. So Pizza the Hut is voiced by somebody, but like puppeted by 2 different people because one person was like, I'm not going to die in this thing.
On the other hand, death by cheese. I mean, not the worst way to go, right?
But death by Pizza the Hut is definitely the worst way to go.
Yeah, that's not a good on-screen death. No.
Okay, so
okay.
Reason number 2 why I love this film is obviously because of the iconic comedy moments that it has given us. So I've got 2 clips of, I think, possibly the 2 most iconic moments of this thing.
I'm having trouble with the radar, sir.
What's wrong with it?
I've lost the bleeps, I've lost the sweeps, and I've lost the creeps.
The what? The what? And the what?
You know, the bleeps. The sweeps.
Oh, man.
And the creeps.
It's not all he's lost.
Sir, the radar, sir. It appears to be
jammed.
He's so good. He is so good.
Jammed.
So that is obviously Michael Winslow as the radar technician.
Yeah.
He is truly an iconic part of this movie and possibly one of the most quoted if people can do the noises.
Yeah, you remember him from the Police Academy movies, of course. Yeah,
of course.
Yeah. Holy shit! Yeah, funny. That is funny. But also dumb.
Oh, incredibly stupid.
It's been jammed.
Oh yeah, and then the jam pouring down the screen. And then the final iconic moment I would like you to look at.
Sir?
What?
Are we being too literal?
No, you fool. We're following orders. We were told to comb the desert, so we're combing it.
Found anything yet? Nothing yet, sir. How about you? Not a thing, sir. What about you guys? We ain't found shit.
So good.
Oh, that is just hilarious. I had a feeling. Combing the desert.
We ain't found shit. So good. What
Yeah.
I also love, like, the small moment where Rick Moranis, Dark Helmet, uses the megaphone to talk to Colonel Sanders and then does not use the megaphone to talk to the people 100 meters away from him. Like, little things like that also. And, like, the way he has a giant sand helmet.
Mhm.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
so
yeah,
good.
Yeah. This movie is like fractally silly.
Yes.
It's silly on every. There's silliness inside the silliness.
Yes.
It's silliness all the way down. I love that.
Just levels and levels of silly. It's so
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
In terms of just like shooting in the Arizona desert, that's where they
Mhm.
filmed a lot of these
Whoa.
desert sequences.
Mhm.
The woman who played the body of Dot Matrix,
Mhm.
that is a very uncomfortable costume to wear in the Arizona desert.
I would imagine.
And they actually had to bake 6 different Dot Matrix costumes because they kept breaking.
Okay.
I also feel really bad for that woman who was inside the costume, whose name is not Joan Rivers. Joan Rivers did the voice.
Mhm.
But hang on. Lorene Yarnall Jansen was the mime who played the body of Dot Matrix, and she was originally going to also be the voice of Dot Matrix, but she didn't have the right comedy timing for Mel Brooks. And so he brought in Joan Rivers as like kind of like a band-aid solution to help out. And also Joan Rivers agreed to do it without knowing anything about the film. She was just like, oh, Mel Brooks needs me, I'm in.
Yeah. I can see that.
Yep.
Also kind of parallels Darth Vader, right?
Little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
Except it was with Dot, the C-3PO.
Dot Matrix. Still funny.
So it has given us some truly iconic, hilarious clips in our time. And I appreciate that. I really do.
Yes. And again, can you quote a single line from any of the like modern spoof movies?
No.
Like the horror movies or the
Like
epic
Scary
movies or
Movie.
scary movie, epic movie?
No.
No, me neither. But I could quote like a shit ton of lines from various Mel Brooks movies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there's an element to which they are just. No, I didn't want to say just. No, there's not. Like I was gonna say they're better, but that's harsh.
Yeah. Well, is it harsh if it's true?
I think it's that they played it very earnestly. And I think that's one thing I like about Mel Brooks is that he spoofs stuff. He does take the piss out of things, but he's like very earnest in his approach and really does try and get the best people on board to create the best things. He got freaking Joan Rivers, John Candy, like Rick Moranis. He got some freaking powerful star talent in this film. Versus if you look at Scary Movie or like the epic movie, it's not like they're not getting like talented actor, comedian, like, yeah, no.
And also the production values are nowhere near.
No.
No. It is interesting how Mel Brooks enters the zeitgeist, and leaves marks in the cultural conversation.
He really does. Reason number 3. As somebody who enjoys cinema, enjoys film, I like film that is meta. It references itself. It's aware. And I think this is where Mel Brooks really shines as a writer. Like, he makes things very self-aware.
Go.
Sir? Spaceballs! Good work, Corporal. Punch it up.
I knew we were going there.
Fast march to world. Prepare to fast forward. Prepare to fast forward. Fast forward. Fast forwarding, sir. Surprise me. Stop.
Also, notice this is a practical effect.
Yeah.
Like, this is a live camera view. That's how they're doing it.
Would have had an actual video camera streaming to the screen in front of them.
In the movie?
Yeah.
Now. You're looking at now, sir. Everything that happens now is happening now.
What happened to then?
The past?
When?
It's now. We're at now.
This
Go back to
whole
then.
dialogue sequence.
Now?
Now.
I can't.
Why?
We missed it.
When?
Just now.
When will then be now? Soon.
And can we just take a moment? That poor extra had to not laugh during that sequence.
How? That's my question. How do you not laugh?
I just felt I feel so strongly for that poor extra having to like be still and quiet whilst that is happening behind you.
Yes, that is hilarious and very meta.
It's so meta. We also have another meta moment, which is just, it's so dumb. I think this is where my love of stupidity comes from. Like, I have a real love of dumb things and stupid things, and they're so beautiful in their own way.
Mm-hmm. This one is also unavailable.
Oh, it's the same company. It's the Movie Clips one. Okay, hang on, wait. I need to find not them. Okay. Maybe let me... What is it with Movie Clips in Denmark, eh? Let's try that one.
Yeah, I don't know. So just from the beginning?
Yep.
3, 2, 1, go.
Good work! More ping pongs! Run for it! Let's go!
It's closing! The door's closing!
Someone's wrong!
Also, at that point, you can tell.
Don't move, you're dead. Stand up. Captain, we've got them.
You can already tell. You can see it. If you know what you're looking for, you can see it.
Yeah.
Spectacular stunt, my friends. But all for naught. Turn around,
Naught.
please. Ah, what a pity. What a pity. So, princess, you thought
He's
you
giving
could
like
outwit the
gay
Imperials?
SS commander.
Yep. I also love that he has the giant the mustache and the giant cigar.
These are not them. You've captured their stunt doubles. Search the area. Find them. Find them.
Yeah. Yeah, you captured their stunt doubles. We're in a movie and he's not gonna let you forget it.
Nope.
Also, Mel Brooks does a lot of like fourth wall breaking,
Yeah, he does.
talking to the camera, that kind of thing. Yeah. I love that.
It's so good. And also, just a quick note, having a male stunt performer performing as a female role is no longer cool. Back in the 80s, it probably flew, but nowadays it's not okay. And most stunts for female characters are now done by female stunt doubles.
And there are some amazing female stunt doubles, so why wouldn't they?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I love the meta aspects of this film. I love that it's so aware, it's so self-referential. It just makes it feel like, I don't know. I'm very enthusiastic about it.
Oh, it's great. It is great. What other movies do that? The Austin Powers movies do that.
Also very good films.
Also very good films. Where he goes, just don't think about it too much.
If I'm still frozen in 1967, how could I have been unthawed in the 90s and traveled back to, oh no, I've gone cross-eyed?
I suggest you don't worry about this sort of thing and just enjoy yourself. That goes for you all, too.
Yes.
Yeah. The fact that it's a very self-aware film, it's a parody film that's self-aware, which I really like about it. And also it kind of leads into this idea of that earnest aspect for me is like that really comes across in the fact that they're showing you it's a movie. Even in that regard, it's still very like, this is not real. This is a stunt doubles. This is a movie of the movie whilst we're watching the movie. That layer of fourth wall breaking, that layer of meta builds that for me.
Oh, I can totally see that. While only adding to the funny, which I think is important. Yeah. Yeah.
The final thing that I really love about this film is what I'm calling the fuckery. Which is all of the things that kind of happen behind the scenes that were really stupid. So for the first one, I would like you to tell me what is interesting about this photo. This is a still from the film. This is the space diner that they go into. Can you just take a quick look at that image and tell me if you notice anything maybe interesting about that image?
We
Have a quick look at the spaceships that are parked there.
There's the Millennium Falcon right there.
Yep.
I did not notice. Are there any other famous spaceships?
Nope, it's just the Millennium Falcon because of George Lucas.
Oh, man.
They were negotiating to make this film. So Mel Brooks sent the script to George Lucas, and George Lucas was like, yes, you give my blessing. I loved Blazing Saddles, but you are not allowed to do any action figures or merchandising because your action figures are going to look like mine.
Sure.
Come, walk this way, take a look. We put the picture's name on everything. Merchandising. Where the real money from the movie is made. Spaceballs the t-shirt. Spaceballs the coloring book. Spaceballs the lunchbox. Spaceballs the breakfast cereal. Spaceballs the flamethrower. The kids love this one.
Oh my god. That is of course a commentary on Star Wars, because there was Star Wars cereal and Star Wars bed sheets and Star Wars everything.
If you look extraordinarily closely, you can see that the comic book that they're holding up is a Transformers comic book.
Yeah.
So is the lunchbox, and the Spaceballs, the cereal is probably just a picture of Darth Vader. Like, they literally just took pre-existing merchandise and put the Spaceballs logo on top of it. Because
hilarious.
they could.
Hilarious. Yeah.
But yeah, because George Lucas said, please don't do any merchandising, that caused this entire runner. So throughout the whole film, the president has always got Spaceballs merch. His bedspread is a Spaceballs bedspread. Every opportunity to have a merchandising moment within the film, like in the diner, the placemats are Spaceballs placemats. Like, there's so much stupid merch they made exclusively to feature in the film because they weren't allowed to sell it after the film.
Hilarious.
So stupid. It's so good. There's also Spaceballs branded toilet paper.
Of course there is.
In the film.
Of course there is.
Yes. This level of fuckery and playfulness extended throughout the entire filmmaking process as well. A lot of the cast and crew talk about the fact that it was so much fun to film.
I love that.
Mel Brooks was not only really open to improvisation and ad-libbing as part of the script. There's a line where John kind of goes, "Oof, that's gonna hurt." That was an ad-lib. There's loads of moments like that in the film where the actors were given creative freedom to try and make each other laugh. One of the actors said in the process of making the film, they laughed more making the film than anyone has ever laughed watching the film.
I doubt that, but that's still amazing.
But there was a sense on set of creativity and freedom and play that led to people having this feeling that they could try out different things. And even if that wasn't the take that they used, it allowed people to just breathe a little easier. Mel Brooks really gave them the space to be creative, to find themselves, and to go bigger. He gave them as many takes as they needed. And often his direction was like, go bigger, try it harder, try it louder, try it more. There was a lot of space on set to laugh and to be silly and to be playful and to prank each other and to hide behind a helmet if you needed to.
I love it when people have a good time making stuff that I then get to enjoy.
Yes.
Not that the other approach can't work. Aliens, for instance, our last episode.
Yeah.
Notoriously a nightmare for everybody involved, but still a masterpiece came out of it. I just prefer when people have a good time.
It's just nice when people are having a nice time.
I think so. Mel Brooks seems like a good dude. I don't know anything about him as a person, but he seems like a good guy.
Sure, I'll link the documentary in our doobly-doo.
Yes, please.
But a lot of the people talk about him as being your favorite uncle.
Yeah,
and he also talks about that in, when they're asked about him as well. There's a section of the documentary where they ask everyone their opinion on Mel Brooks. And my absolute favorite thing is how many people said the phrase, "He's a great kisser, wonderful lover, excellent in bed." As if they were clearly not told to say that. But pretty much
more fuckery. I love it.
exactly.
Yeah.
Pretty much everyone talks about this idea of like he really cares about you and he really
Mhm.
wants to make sure you're okay. And he's whether you want him to or not, he's involved in your life and he's giving you advice.
Like a good uncle.
Yes.
Yeah, a good Jewish uncle.
And so like he's very there for you and he's like really involved and like very much it seems like he's from everything I've seen from him so far, he seems like a really good dude.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's amazing.
Speaking of really good dudes, I wanted to make sure that we took a moment to talk about Rick Moranis.
Mm-hmm.
Because I love Rick Moranis. I have a quote from George Weiner, who played Colonel Sandhurst.
Mhm.
For you?
He's more than a funny actor. He's very creative. I always thought he would make a fantastic director, says George Weiner. Interesting. Did he ever?
Well, that's the thing. In 97, Moranis took a break from acting because his wife passed away. And he wanted to make sure that his kids had a dad.
Mhm.
So he made the very difficult decision to take a step back and be a full-time father. He didn't appear in a live-action film for over 20 years.
Wow.
He did voiceover work for animated films like Disney's Big Brother in 2003. He did some comedy albums. He did some fan appearances at conventions. But he didn't really come back to the silver screen until 2020 to appear in a sequel to Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. I really respect that decision that his family needed him. And so he was there for them.
I love that.
I think that makes him a really amazing person.
Makes just a good human being.
Yeah. When talking about his like Hollywood heyday to going to being a father, this is what he said.
I was working with really interesting people, wonderful people. I went from that to being at home with a couple of little kids, which is a very different lifestyle, but it was important to me. I have absolutely no regrets whatsoever. My life is wonderful. Holy shit. I respect the hell out of that.
Right?
What an amazing life choice.
Yeah. This is why I want to take a moment to talk about it because like I love Rick Moranis. I love Ghostbusters. I love Honey, I Shrunk. I loved Honey, I Shrunk the Kids growing up. I love Spaceballs. And like, oh my gosh, even Little Shop of Horrors, he's incredible in Little Shop of Horrors.
Yeah.
And the integrity it takes to going from being that level of celebrity, like he was a household name, to being, I need to be a father. I need to be there for my kids. My wife just passed.
Mm-hmm.
I respect the hell out of this guy.
Oh, yeah. That is amazing. Wow. And rare. Very rare.
Exactly. The final thing to say on Rick Moranis, I want to leave to Mr. Mel Brooks himself.
Rick was what you call a great pain in the ass. That is, he'd always finish a take, and he'd say, let's do it again in this next take. Why did you say this, and I say this, and you say this? He was always right.
Careful, you idiot! I said across her nose, not up it.
And he was really, I say pain, but he was a pleasure to work with, because anybody who's so giving and loving and creative is very valuable.
What's his name?
That is his name, sir. Asshole. Major asshole.
His cousin?
He's an asshole too, sir. Gunner's mate, first class, Philip Asshole.
How many assholes we got on this ship anyhow?
There were a lot of assholes. All the assholes were good.
I'm surrounded by assholes.
I'm surrounded by assholes.
Yeah, that is an interesting contrast to the making of Aliens documentary, where nobody really has anything nice to say about James Cameron. And James Cameron has nothing nice to say about anybody else, except maybe his stars, except maybe Sigourney Weaver. Wow.
But
that's amazing.
Everyone is super lovely and complimentary of everyone else in the film. And it was really clear that everyone loves Rick Moranis, as do I. Just want to take a moment to just be like, this man is worth just noting, and fuck this guy is, I just really respect the choices he has made in his life.
Yes, definitely. Giving our enthusiasm for swing dancing.
Yes.
There is maybe one clip we do need to shove in there, regardless of whether or not it has anything to do with Spaceballs.
My brain is going to the producers?
No. We're in History of the World.
Oh, this is one of the ones I haven't seen yet.
Oh, then you're going to love this.
But I have seen this clip.
Of course you have.
I haven't seen this film, but I've seen this clip.
I'm very entertaining. I got special talents. I'll show you. Look out. Sand. I gotta have a little sand. What? Sand. You're standing on it.
Sand, you're standing on it.
Yes. A little sand on the stage for the native Shim Sham sand dance. Look out. I'm gonna start.
So good.
Oh yeah, soft shoe tap.
Yes. It's Gregory Hines, right?
Boy,
Gregory Hines, exactly. One of the best tap dancers ever.
Hey, what country you from?
Ethiopia.
What part?
125th Street. I'm gonna sign him up.
Also, like tap dancing in
big turn.
sandals.
Uh-huh.
Girl.
And that's
Ethiopian. Shim sham.
The originators of the dance all had a little bit of comedy chops. He's got really good comedy timing. That little
Absolutely.
Ethiopia.
Yeah.
Like he's got the comedy chops to pull that off, as well as being a top-notch tap dancer.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. And I just thought, I just appreciate Mel Brooks shoving a little bit of tap in his movie. Yeah, it was great. Also, and I got to mention this, did you know that Mel Brooks had an honest-to-God pop chart hit?
When you say honest to God.
For reals, top of the charts.
What was it?
It was in the 80s. He made a movie called To Be or Not to Be.
Uh-huh.
And they did a song called To Be or Not to Be, which is not in the movie.
Oh.
But he did release it as a video and as a single.
Huh.
And it made it to number 12 in the UK.
Dang, I did not know that.
Yeah, it is hilarious. Again, he's going back to the Hitler stuff from the producers. And he's rapping as Hitler.
Oh,
yeah.
I've seen this.
Yeah,
I've seen
yeah,
this.
yeah.
Yes, I've seen this.
To be or not to be.
Yes.
Oh, baby. Don't be stupid. Be a smarty. Come on, join the Nazi party.
Which is also in the producer's film.
Yes, it is.
Man.
It is.
Yes, no, I've seen that. I didn't know what it was from. I've seen that.
Yeah. So he makes that, and it makes it to number 12 in the UK on the singles chart.
That's absolutely
How
fantastic.
amazing is that? Yeah.
So good.
Yeah.
Oh man, for a Jewish guy, he really, really loves coming back to Hitler.
He's gotten a lot of mileage out of the Nazis.
Really, he did.
Yeah. To all those mothers in the fatherland, I said, Achtung, baby, I got me a plan. They said, what you got, Adolf? What you gonna do? I said, how about this one? World War II. It's called the Hitler rap.
I love how quickly you were just reciting that. You were just like, no, I've got this on lock, Katie. Let's go.
It's in my brain and it's never coming out.
Nope.
Nope.
But that is all the things I wanted to say about Spaceball. Visually, beautiful. Costumes, cohesive. Special effects, gorgeous. It's iconic. It's hilarious. It's meta. There's some hilarious fuckery behind the scenes, particularly messing with Star Wars, one of my favorites. And Rick Moranis is a man we all should respect.
Yes. Yes. And yes.
So, Alex, what do you think of Spaceballs?
I think I'm going to watch it again real soon. Like tonight. It's been years. It's more than 10 years since I've seen it last. Yeah, and I do remember how dumb it is. Or do I? Maybe, is it even dumber than I remember?
I will say I had forgotten how... there was a couple elements when I rewatched it where I was just like, I'd forgotten about Pizza the Hut. I'd forgotten about that whole thing. And that was just like, holy shit, this happens. And then learning more about the fact that it's actual pizza, like... It made me rewatch those scenes just to like appreciate the effects man in that costume a little bit more. I felt like he needed more of my appreciation.
Yeah. Do we know what kind of cheese?
It was cheese pizza, so it's probably mozzarella.
Mozzarella. I'm thinking mozzarella. Yeah. Maybe
a little bit Parmigiano Reggiano on top, but just a little sprinkle.
Yeah. Hilarious. Katie, if a person needs to know more about Spaceballs, and I think we all do, where should they go?
I will link you to a couple of different interviews with Mel Brooks and Rick Moranis, as well as the documentary. It's not that long. It's only half an hour. It is potato quality on YouTube, so enjoy that. But it's some really nice interviews with the cast and the crew, and they talk a little bit about the visual effects and the costume design, and you hear a lot from Mel Brooks himself. I will also link a bunch of clips. In case you want to just watch clips, you can also watch clips. There are so many compilations on YouTube of all the funniest moments, and picking just a few to put into this podcast was very difficult.
I would imagine. Yeah. By the way, would you like to know what the movie was called in Danish?
Ooh, what was it called in Danish?
These days, we don't really translate movie titles anymore.
Yeah.
But back in the 80s, we absolutely did. And most of the translations were horrible. But Spaceballs in Danish became Rumnødderne, which is literally space nuts.
Oh, that's perfect.
Yeah, right? Space nuts.
Yeah, no, because so they were really struggling to come up with a name with the film. They had a different name originally, but they wanted the word space in it. Mel Brooks and 2 other people was just trying to come up with names, and Mel Brooks spilled some coffee on himself, the papers and everything, and went balls, and they were like, "Oh, Spaceballs!" Ding, 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 ding. That's where the name came from, as the story goes.
As the story goes, that is amazing.
So, dear listener, what did you think about Spaceballs? Do you have any questions, or did we leave out something awesome about it? Go to our website or Instagram at Electric Enthusiasm to leave a comment. I have a roundup.
Yes.
The Golden Globes were recently. And
yes.
I want to really quickly do a huge shout out to our wonderful Michelle Yeoh and Ki Hye Kwan, who won Best Actress and Best Supporting Actor respectively for Everything, Everywhere, All at Once.
I saw that. That is amazing and so well earned.
Yes.
So well deserved.
I'll also put a link to Ki Hye Kwan's acceptance speech because it was so sweet and so endearing.
Oh, I've not seen that.
It's so lovely. He talks about the fact that, you know, he kind of had like a little bit of a rough middle part of his career, but it was really great because Steven Spielberg was in the audience. And so he got to thank Steven Spielberg for getting him his start as in Indiana Jones. It's short round. Thank you. So yeah,
awesome.
I will link to their acceptance speeches because particularly Ki Hye Kwan's is really lovely. It's very like pulls at the heartstrings. But like Auntie Michelle, what?
I love that she's getting her moment now. That's amazing.
Finally, it's taken some time.
Yeah.
But yeah. And so I'm very happy. Just wanted to make sure we took a moment to celebrate Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. I might rewatch it again for like the 7th time.
I might too.
After Spaceballs, that's going to be a really nice whiplash.
Yeah. They do kind of have the meta element in common.
Yeah, and they're also quite stupid.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's that in common as well. They're both very stupid.
I think if Mel Brooks could have shoved a butt plug into Spaceballs, he probably would have.
Yeah.
He just didn't find a way.
I also feel like maybe in the 80s that was less cool. I feel like now people are a bit more chill about sex toys. I feel like if Mel Brooks had access to like the world of sex toys, I think he would probably use them more. Yeah.
Yeah. I could definitely see that. Also, next time I probably won't use the word shoved into the movie when talking about a butt plug. Inserted? No, that's not better.
Nope, that's not better.
Put into the movie? No. Used in the movie.
Used in the
movie.
There we go. So, if someone enjoyed this episode, Alex, where could we send them?
I mean, Everything, Everywhere, All at Once, our episode on that. It's definitely good. Sci-fi. And then the Aliens episode.
Yeah.
For another masterpiece that is also actually very funny in places. Very underrated humor in Aliens. But which was a complete and utter nightmare.
Yeah, not like this film at all.
No, thanks to the perfectionism of the director. You know, these two very different approaches show that you can get masterpieces without being a complete dick to everybody involved.
Yes.
And Mel Brooks has done that, and James Cameron has apparently not.
No, the Daniels have, though.
And the Daniels have.
If we're talking about like really great people who were just kind, lovely, and seem to like do awesome things, the Weird Al episode, also a great place to go.
Weird Al, also movie parodies and song parodies.
Exactly.
Yeah.
2 for 1.
Perfect. Perfect. Excellent.
We hope you enjoyed sharing some of our enthusiasms in this episode. Please visit our website, electricenthusiasm.com, or find us on Instagram at electricenthusiasm to discover more episodes or to leave a comment.
And now, dear listener, use the Schwartz.
Yeah! Schwartz appears to be the same size as mine. It's not about the size, but how you use it. The amount of I can quote this film so much is terrible.